Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about symbolization problem. Symbolization problem 2.6, LRS 115. If Ronald runs, but Sally doesn't sing, then Vince doesn't vanish, although Xavier excels. One thing I want to call your attention to before I get into that problem is this page in our Canvas site, Finding Main Connectives in Symbolization. This is in the Grammar and Parsing module that was due on Monday, January 18th. So you're going to want to, this is a really super valuable page for video symbolizations. This video, what a great thumbnail. This video will give you a method for taking apart symbolizations in a really systematic way, and this PowerPoint describes how to do it also, and you'll see that it will make problems like this much easier to do. So I recommend you do that. I'll be using that method. So let's take a look at this problem. So we can go through and find the logical operator words, the words that are going to turn into our logical operators, the negation symbol, the conditional symbol, and the conjunction symbol, find the English that's going to turn into those. So we have this if, we have that but, we have then, there's this nt. That's going to come at the very end because it's hooked up to the verb, and so that negation is going to be just on Sally sings. It's not going to be higher in the tree. There's another nt, right? And then there's this although. So one of these we need to symbolize first. The if is paired with the then. So it's the if then, the but, the nt, or the although. We know it's not the nts. So it's going to have to be the if then, the but, or the although. So what we want to do is find this sentence's main connective. And that's when this sentence was built in a series of stages from Ronald runs and Sally sings and Vince vanishes and Xavier excels. And at the very last stage of building up sentences, we built this sentence. And we built this sentence by taking some other complex sentences and adding the last logical vocabulary. That means that if the logical vocabulary that we last added, if we take it away, we should be left with exactly two pieces, the parts. So we can check, if we take away if we look at this but, let's say we get rid of it. What are we left with? Well, if Ronald runs, well, that's not even a sentence, right? So that means that the but is not the main connective of the whole thing. We didn't build this whole sentence by adding this, by taking this thing, this sentence, and that sentence, and putting but in between them, because that's not even a sentence. What about the if then? Well, the if could attach to this, or does attach to this. Ronald runs, but Sally doesn't sing. That's a sentence. The then attaches to this, and that's also a sentence. Vince doesn't vanish, although Xavier excels. So the if attaches to a sentence, and the then attaches to a sentence. And that means that the if then is the main, is probably the main connective. At least it might be. As it turns out, if we remove the although, we are left with two sentences. We're left with Xavier excels, and we're left with if Ronald runs but Sally doesn't sing, then Vince doesn't vanish, which is a conditional if this, then that. So when we remove the although, we're left with exactly two sentences. But here's the thing. When we remove the if then, the sentence breaks where the comma is. But when we remove the although, the sentence does not break where the comma is, right? When we remove the although, the sentence would break right here, which is not where the comma is. So so what's going on? We have the if then and the although. They both pass this removal test. When we take them away, we're left with two sentences that we could have built this whole thing out of. But then we say that the if then is the main connective because the if then makes the sentence break out the comma. So that makes this whole thing a conditional. So we're going to move this stuff down. We're going to get rid of the if because that's being turned into the arrow. And this is what the if attaches to. And we're going to get rid of that then because that also is turned into the arrow. So now we have Ronald runs, but Sally doesn't sing. So that's this, a but sentence joining these two. But is and. So we'll put in Ronald runs, and that's atomic R. Here we have, get rid of that but because it's the and. Sally doesn't sing, so that's the negation of Sally sings, which is S. Over here, we have although joining Xavier excels, and Vince doesn't vanish. Although is an and, just like but. So we'll have Vince doesn't vanish. And we'll have although Xavier excels, getting rid of the although because it's symbolized by the conjunction symbol. Xavier excels is atomic X. Vince doesn't vanish, that's the negation of Vince vanishes. And so we have V. And there is our symbolization. So what we have is a conditional, if this, then that. This is a conjunction of orange, not S, and this is a conjunction of not V with X. And once we realize that if then is the main connective, it's pretty straightforward. The trick is figuring out that if then is the main connective of the original sentence. And the way we do that is to do this removal test. We delete the if and the then, or we don't actually, well, we can do that. And we see, oh yeah, here we have one sentence which the if was attached to, and here we have another sentence which the then was attached to. And so that passes the removal test. The although also passes the removal test. So we choose the if then because when we remove the if then, we have the sentence break where the comma is. And that's what we need to know to solve this problem.